Hello and welcome to our new plants for 2022 series. This one that I'm going to be going over today is the new conifers that we will have this season. And as a caveat with all the other new plants presentations I'll be giving, doesn't necessarily mean that it's new on the market. It may just mean that it's new to us. So some of them definitely will be new on the market here, but some of them I just have not been able to get in the past or was not made aware of them until recently, and I think they're cool, so I'm getting them in this year. So with that said, let's get started. All right, our first new plant for 2022 for the evergreens is actually a deciduous conifer, the blue sparkler larch, also known as Tamarack. This particular plant, you can see here, has nice kind of blue-green needles in spring and summer. However, in the fall, the needles will turn yellow and they will drop off the tree. So I do get questions from some of our customers who say they bought a larch from us. We do typically get in the Native American tamarack as well. So they'll call us up and they're saying, you know, the plant lost its needles in the fall, hasn't had them all winter long. They need a replacement, and actually that's very normal for this plant. Definitely not something to worry about. They typically do re-leaf out again in the spring. So just keep that in mind. If you want something that's going to be an evergreen hedge, probably stay away from the tamarack because they will lose their needles. We have other evergreens like spruce and pine that do hang on to their needles, as most conifers do. It's just this particular plant will lose its needles. So for the blue sparkler, it's a little bit shorter than the Native American larch. 6 to 10 feet tall is the mature size, 5 to 6 feet wide. You can see it has a nice pyramid shape to it. Hardy to zone 3, so just about anywhere here in Wisconsin will be able to grow it. Full sun to part sun is the preferred light requirements. Full shade it doesn't do quite as well. It is definitely native to wetter areas, so boggy, wetlands, that's typically where you would see it here in Wisconsin. So with that said, like I said, we do offer the native larch. If you do not have the space for the American larch, this one would be a native var, so it's a variety of a Wisconsin native. It fits better in smaller suburban city lots, so it was bred to be a smaller one. Like I said, great in wet sites, so if you have a low spot in your yard and just need something to go in there, this would definitely be a great option for you. And this one here is the other deciduous conifer. So this also will lose its needles in the fall. You can see here I have the photo of the fall color. So the left-hand photo is the picture of what it looks like in spring and summer after it's leafed out. It's a nice kind of mint or emerald green color, and then in the fall it'll turn this rusty orange color before it loses its needles. So again, that's very normal, but if you are looking for something that will hang on to its needles and be a nice kind of privacy hedge for you, definitely look at other options instead of something like this. The bald cypress is the one that you probably think of with the bayous down in the southern part of the U.S. They get the knees, is what they're called. It's the root system of the tree. Probably won't see that around here in Wisconsin, but it is this particular variety of the bald cypress is hardy to zone 5, so you will need a little bit more protected spot. If you live out in the country like I do, might not be a great option for you. This one also is not tolerant of walnut trees, so if you have walnuts, this is definitely not something you want to put in because it'll last about 2 seasons for you and then it'll end up dying. The previous slide, the tamarack is walnut tolerant, so that would be a better bet if you're looking for something for a wetter spot. Don't mind that the needles fall off. Larch is walnut tolerant, whereas the bald cypress is not. So this one also is a larger tree, 40 to 50 feet tall and 15 to 20 feet wide at maturity. Because it is in the upper range of its hardiness though, it will grow fairly slow. So don't expect, a foot or two of growth from it every year. More like probably 6 inches every year, maybe 8 inches. This one is more columnar than the traditional bald cypress, so it fits a little bit better into the landscape, but still, like I said, 15 to 20 feet wide. You are going to need to give it a fair amount of space. And this one, even though, I mean, it is native to wet spots, so if you do have an area that has standing water, this would be perfectly fine. However, it does tolerate drought once it's established, so once the root system is in, able to take up enough water, this one will tolerate a season or two of drought as well. All right, now we are into our true evergreens, the conifers that hang onto their needles through the entire year, all of the seasons. The balsam fir here is one that we will be offering this year, and it's also in my natives presentation, if you saw that. This one prefers full sun to part sun, so a minimum of 4 hours of sun each day. You can see the photo here, it has a really nice pyramid growing shape, so you don't actually have to prune it to look like this nice Christmas tree. It just basically is in its genetics to grow that way. So very low maintenance, again, no pruning really required. Hardiness zone is 3 to 5, so it has a very narrow hardiness zone, but luckily all of Wisconsin is basically in that hardiness spot. The size really depends on the type of soil you have. It prefers more of a sandier, well-drained, loamy soil. If you do have clay, it's probably not going to get quite as large. 45 to 65 feet tall. It, as I said, depends. Clay soil is probably going to be more on that 45-foot range. The sandier, lighter soils are going to be more along that 60 to 65-foot height range. But basically, it will typically always get 20 to 25 feet wide. So you're going to need to give it a little bit of space. This is definitely a great option for you if you have walnuts. They do tolerate the juglone toxicity that walnuts and butternuts give off. So this is definitely an option, especially if you're looking for something for a privacy hedge. A lot of spruces do not like the juglone toxicity. I moved into this house 9 years ago, and it had 5 Norway spruce planted along the lot line, and they're under 2 huge walnut trees, and they probably have about 5 feet of growth at the very top, and that's it, because they hate the walnuts. So balsam fir, I have this actually planted underneath those as well, and it's totally fine. Very slow grower though, so do not expect it to fill in really quickly for you. If you're looking for something faster growing for a hedge, Arborvitae will tolerate the walnuts as well, so that might be the way you want to go. Like I said, this one's native to Wisconsin, so you'll see it down here in the southern part of the state, as well as up north by Tamarack, Rhinelander area. And the other cool thing about the balsam fir is the cones start out purple, so you'll get kind of a purplish color before they turn brown with age. Now this one I was not aware of until this past fall in 2021 when I went to the Payne Art Center in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I saw this pine tree, and I had no idea what it was until one of my suppliers mentioned it to me when I was doing the ordering over the winter. So we have a few of these coming in, not a whole lot of them, but you can see here the photo of the bark on the mature tree. It's very mottled, has a lot of different colors, kind of looks like someone went and just flicked a paintbrush on the bark, because it ranges from maroon to silver, a little bit of almost white in there. So definitely that's the selling point of this one. It's a very cool tree. Full sun is best, so it needs a minimum of 6 hours a day. The mature size on it is 30 to 50 feet tall, so it's a fairly large plant. 20 to 35 feet wide, probably in the clay soils will be closer to 20 feet. It does prefer more of a sandier, lighter, loamy, well-drained soil. Clay soil's a little bit heavier than what it's used to. However, in the Oshkosh area, I used to live up in Appleton. There was quite a bit of clay, so I don't know if the Payne Art Center amended their beds or not to be able to grow that plant or not. But either way, it'll grow here in Wisconsin, hardiness zone 4 to 8. So again, most of Wisconsin, at least the southern half, should be able to grow it without having too many issues. And this one also is great because once it gets established, it's drought tolerant, so it won't need a whole lot of water. This one is just a little bit different than the Mugo pines that we have seen in the landscape. You can see here I have a photo of yellow needles and then also green needles. This particular plant will, I mean, it prefers full sun in order to get the yellowing of the needles in winter. It'll start out in spring and summer with the green. As fall comes on, the cooler weather comes on, the needles actually change to a yellow color. So that is normal winter coloring. It's kind of nice because in winter it's so drab with gray and white and brown as the main colors. So it's nice to have evergreens, but then it's also nice to have these evergreens that have that yellow pop of color, just to give us a little bit different aesthetics here in our landscape. Like I said, full sun for best coloring on the yellow winter needles. The size on this one is fairly large. It's a 5 to 6 foot tall and about 4 feet wide. Does have that rounded shape as you can see in that left hand side on the photo. The form is going to be rounded, I should say, when it's young. It actually will, if you let it develop a leader, it will become pyramidal with age. But if you don't want it to be more of a pyramid shape, you can always prune that top leader off and then it'll be more of that rounded shape. So if you liked the previous one, but you don't have the space for it, this is an option for you if you just have a small bed or a small lot that you want to plant something like this on. So you can see here again, the left-hand photo is what it would look like in spring and summer, and then the top right-hand photo is what it will look like in late fall and into winter with the yellow needles again. Carsten's Wintergold is, again, full sun plant, but it will be about 2 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. So it's definitely a lot smaller, the dwarf version of the previous slide. Hardiness zone for this particular plant and the last one is going to be hardy to zone 2. So it's hardy here in Wisconsin, possibly up into Canada as well. So definitely hardy here. Just keep it away from a lot of the driveways and sidewalks. They don't tolerate salt that well. They tend to turn brown instead of keeping the nice green and yellow needles on them. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out where to plant this one. This one also, the Mugo pines tend to be very drought tolerant. So once they get established, after, usually 3 to 5 years after they've been planted, they typically will be very drought tolerant. They don't like to have wet feet. So if you do overwater them, if you have like a sprinkler system, something like that, you need to watch the water because if you give it too much water, it will start losing its needles as well. It gets stressed out. So again, just keep in mind, drought tolerant once established, keep it away from driveways, but it's definitely a great little plant if you only have a small bed that you want to fill in. Okay, so Bosnian pine is a new one. I don't believe I've gotten Bosnian pine in before, but could be. I've been at K&A for 8 years now, so I don't always remember what I order. This one is called Compact Gem. It is hardy to zone 5, so it's kind of sketchy. Now and again, you might need to protect it if we're getting polar vortex like we do sometimes. This one also prefers full sun. It will tolerate part shade, but it'll get kind of bare in the middles. You won't notice as much coverage with the needles, so that's something that you would need to make sure you put it in at least 6 hours of sun a day. Compact Gem, because it is more of a compact tree, grows in this pyramid shape, 8 to 10 feet tall, and it'll be 4 to 6 feet wide at maturity. The plant will probably be more columnar when it's younger, and then it develops more of that leader, so you'll have more of the pyramid shape. And as with all pines, they always prefer the lighter soils, sandy loam if you have that in your landscape. Clay soil is okay, just won't grow as fast. Probably will be a little bit smaller, and drought tolerant, of course, when it's established. So don't overwater this particular tree, just like the Mugo pines in the slides before. Pines typically do not like to have wet feet, so make sure if you have it in a spot, you give it enough drainage. This guy is kind of a cutie. He's coming to us from Bison Nursery out in Oregon State. Scotch pine green penguin. So you can see here definitely a columnar kind of pyramid shape to it. Very small. It's 3 to 4 feet tall and only 2 feet wide. So it's not going to be a hedge just because it's 3 to 4 feet tall. But it would make a nice background if you have a small, smaller perennials or smaller shrubs that you want in front of it. Also makes a great accent plant, as you can see here in the photo. It's kind of in the corner by, it looks like a deck, possibly in the garden there. Hardiness zone on this one is to zone 3, so it's 3 to 8. Definitely hardy here in Wisconsin. And the note here also from our supplier says it makes a great option for Japanese gardens. There's not a ton of options for Japanese gardening, but they seem to be coming out with a lot more options. This one is new on the market for them, therefore it's new on the market for us. So it's an option if you are going for more of the Japanese gardens, more of a tidier look. You don't really need to prune it at all because it basically just grows in this kind of columnar, tiny pyramid shape. So it's a very low maintenance plant. Once it gets established, it's drought tolerant, and of course, as with all pines, prefers sandy or loamy soil, but it will be okay in clay. Just don't expect it to get huge if you do have it in that heavier soil. All right, this is a new yew, an English yew that we will be getting in. I had another type that was yellow last year that I was not able to get this year. So this is an option if you're looking for a tall, very, very skinny plant. Full sun to part sun is best for this one. Typically yews handle more of a shadier spot. However, with this one, if you want the yellow coloring on the needles, you are going to need to give it more of a full sun, part sun. Instead of a full shade situation. This one, 6 to 8 feet tall, only 1 foot wide. So it is very skinny. Will pretty much fit anywhere that you can put it in the landscape. Because it's an English yew, it's hardy to zone 5 instead of, like the Taunton, the Hicks yews, they tend to be a little bit hardier. The English yews tend to be a little less hardy, but still zone 5. You can always put burlap around it if you're worried about hardiness the first couple years until it gets established. Another note with yews, deer and rabbits love them. So if you do have issues with either one of those, especially in winter, you're going to want to try and protect it either by fencing it off. If you put the burlap around it, that will protect it from getting eaten, and it'll protect it from the winter winds that we get. So definitely something that you want to do to protect it, though, at least the first few years until it gets big enough. So this one, you can see in the photo, it's a yellow needled yew, which is actually the color in spring and summer. In the fall and winter, it changes to kind of a rusty orange, like the bald cypress photo was. So it may look like it's actually kind of dying. Some people like the rusty orange color though in fall, and like I said before, in the winter in Wisconsin you have 5 months, 6 months of brown, gray, white, and that's pretty much it. So it's nice having options for evergreens that give you different colors, like the orange, the yellow of the Mugo pine, and then the evergreens with just the green coloring in there. The yew is tolerant of all soil types, so it won't hinder it if you put it in clay soils or sandy soils. Somewhat drought tolerant once it gets established, but it can handle a little bit of a wetter site. I just wouldn't put it in standing water, but if you have a moist site, that's perfectly fine. We have one new Arborvitae this year. It's called Steeplechase. I believe it's out from proven winners, but I don't 100% know, so don't quote me on that. This one is full sun to part sun, so minimum of 4 hours of sun a day. This is a wonderful option if you're looking for a fast-growing hedge. You can see here, this is exactly what the person did who planted this here. They're very fast-growing evergreen, 15 to 20 feet tall, 6 to 8 feet wide. This is actually hardy to zone 4, so it's a great option if you live in an area that has a lot of winter winds that whip through there, or if you're out in the country again like I am, you need something more of a zone 4 than a zone 5. So this is a better option than if you wanted the emerald green arbs, for example. This is zone 4. It's going to be about the same size, so Steeplechase is what you would want to go with if you're not sure about your hardiness. The the other option I believe is DeGroote Spire, which we will also have in. But just thought I'd try this one out, see how it compares to the other arbs, and kind of go from there after this season. And that is all I have for you for today. So if you have any questions, feel free to email us at the Gmail address listed, or you can call either of the two stores. I'm typically at the Verona location, so you can call that one to get a hold of me, or if you want to email me, just put "Attention Jessica" in the subject line, and I'll make sure to get back to you in a couple of days. So I hope you enjoyed it. There will be multiple sections to this new plans for 2022, so keep checking YouTube. I believe if you've subscribed to our channel, it'll give you notifications of when the new videos are uploaded to YouTube as well. So thanks so much, and keep thinking spring.